PBS.
President Trump signed an executive order last month that allows employers to defer payroll taxes for the rest of the year. We spoke with CPA Tom Wheelwright about why this may not be such a great idea for employers or employees. All right, Tom Wheelwright, what does this executive order really do for employers and for employees?
Well, what it's meant to do for employees is what the employers received quite some time ago. Employers got the option to defer payroll tax, and now this allows them to defer payroll tax for employees until the end of the year if they choose to do so.
And again, the operative word here is defer. These taxes will still be owed.
They will still be owed. And one of the interesting aspects of this executive order is that the employee is not the one on the hook if they don't get paid. It's the employer who is on the hook for the taxes.
Yeah, explain that better here, because I was a little confused here. It sounds like employers are really having to carry the weight here.
Absolutely. So, for example, let's say that you have an employer who elects to defer taxes for the employee leaves. Can the employer actually collect the taxes from the employee? Probably not.
And again, that puts the onus on the employer. And as you mentioned, employers, they were kind of taken care of during the CARES Act, true?
Correct. So employers, starting with the CARES Act, were allowed to defer payroll taxes. And that was, to put money in their pocket. Of course, employers are tend to be a little more careful with their money. They know it was a deferral. They know it was postponement. One of the concerns with the employees is, will they realize that come January, they've got a big tax due that's going to be paid over the next 4 months. And so their checks get bigger now and get smaller in 2021.
Well, and that brings to mind the question of, does this even make sense? I mean, why not just suspend the tax or leave things alone?
Well, ideally, you would do a payroll tax holiday. George W. Bush did that. Some people will remember that we did have a payroll tax holiday. I think that's what the president would actually like to have happen. He just doesn't have the power to make that happen. So he's doing the next best thing in his mind. Let's defer it. Congress has the power to give you a payroll tax holiday, and they are looking at that. It just hasn't been enacted yet. Obviously, the president wanted to act quicker than that.
Yeah, but it just seems to me from a distance, again, not a tax expert here, you're the expert, it seems like this is a de facto tax increase come next year.
Well, it is. You're just kicking the can down the road, right? You're saying, I want the money now, and then I'll pay it back in January, February, March, and April. And then the employer on top of that is saying, and I'm willing to take the risk or make some agreement with the employees, right? Which there's some legal issues there. Make some agreement with the employee that if the employee leaves, they get to take it out of their final paycheck or somehow get it paid back.
Let's talk about those legal issues further here. I mean, is this even legal when you look at state and federal tax laws?
It probably is, differing like that. I think it probably is legal. I think the challenge, though, is different states have different rules about what you can do with employees. So, for example, Arizona is an at-will state, right? So you can pretty much, employees and employers can do whatever they want. So this is not a big issue for Arizona. But California or, some of the East Coast states, it's a much bigger issue, because then the question is, can they actually cut that deal with employees? Do they even have the right to cut the deal with the employees, that if the employee leaves, the employee has to pay it back?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, I thought that when it comes to revenue and these sorts of things, legislation was needed first.
Well, that's the problem. That's why the president can't just say, we're going to have a payroll tax holiday, right? Congress has to spend the money. If you're just talking about postponing it, obviously, the president has talked with his legal advisors and said, yeah, you can do that. And the reality is, though, nobody's doing it because it's such a burden on the employer and the employees. There's no consistent thought that the employees will actually recognize that come January, they're going to owe money.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that has been made entirely clear. So you're saying most employers simply aren't going for it anyway?
They're not. None of my clients, frankly, I've advised my clients not to. I think that the risk for the employers, because my clients are all employers, right? I think the risk for the employers is too high. And basically they would have to say, look, we're willing to take on that risk. And some may be willing to do that. But the reality is that most small businesses, they can't afford to take on that risk.
And if they don't take on their risk, the employees have nothing to worry about.
Well, right, because if they don't take on the risk, then the employees can't get their deferral. So it's just a very tough situation because the employees, yeah, would they like to postpone? Maybe, maybe not. Employees tend to remember. Employees love tax refunds, which is really just prepaying your tax, right?
Right, right.
So these same employees who like tax refunds, now you're saying we're going to give you money now that you're going to have to pay back later. It's very much like in 2018. Remember with the 2017 Tax Act, they changed the withholding tables, and there was a huge outcry in April because people weren't getting as big a refund. Well, that's because they got more money during the year, and so they got less money in their refund, but they don't like that. So that's why this is problematic.
All right. Tax expert Tom Wheelwright. Tom, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you very much.